Welcome back for another episode of Branching Out with Sierra. Today we're on episode 36, The Marathon of Leadership, Sustaining Ambition Without Burning Out. Something we talk a lot about is burnout, and we want to be ambitious and take initiative and always be learning and growing, but when is it too much? How do we keep from burning out? So today I invited on one of my very good friends, Bryan Lewis, to join me and talk about this. You know a lot about sustaining ambition and the marathon of leadership.
I do.
So thank you for being here today.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me. I'm so glad that, I could be here.
Yeah, I'm glad it worked out. Okay, so I thought about how do we introduce Bryan because you're involved in so many different things. So rather than me rattle off a bio, I would love for you to just kind of share with the audience where you're from, which is cool, your background, and just what are some of your priorities in life right now? What are you working on?
Oh my goodness. Family of Islanders. Dad's from St. Martin, mom's Bermudian, granddad's from Anguilla, so his grandmother. So definitely Islanders there. Love the culture. Love where I come from. Love where my family comes from. It's weird. People always say, well, you're naturalized. I am, due to being from Camden, New Jersey. And there's definitely nothing that I would go to back there right now, right? And considering where I've been. But, God, you said into everything. Yeah. Definitely the case. I think the solid part of everything that I've done has been about helping people, right? So the therapy part, I think, has been the staple, the foundation. Started working with autism kids when I was 20, doing an internship, spent 10 plus years in social services, have spent almost a decade as well in the private part, outpatient, home-based counseling, those types of things. Just finished degree number 4.
It's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you. Just finished degree number 4.
That's like literally just means like just now, right?
Yeah, just finished, right? So get those results back and we are, and then it's technically in the mail, right?
Okay.
So exciting. Can't wait for this to happen. Can't wait for what's next, right? But played college sports, came to university in 2003 to play college football. Played semi-pro and pro flag up until I was about 37. It's about 37, about 3 or 4 years ago. Then I was like, what am I going to do with this athleticism? And decided to coach. And now we've got ourselves to the idea we're one of the top 9-year-old teams in the country.
Which is amazing. I love following that.
Yeah. So it's been exciting for them because you always think, how do I get what I was taught to them?
Yeah.
And then when I was 9, they got it to me. So I don't know how they knew all of this and then was able to break it down. So it's been great being a teacher, not just a person who helps, because I've never been a teacher.
Yeah.
I've taught people behavior. I've taught people those things, but I never taught people like this, where you have all these different minds trying to teach them the same goal in a different way.
Yeah.
And me and shout out to Coach CJ, we call him Cannon, has really been with me on this journey to what it looks like. And I learned so much about myself, people, parents and youth sports. That's a whole nother conversation, right? But it's been it's been a challenge, but I wouldn't change it for the world because it's made me understand that in everywhere you go, there's always a new devil, right? Every level you hit, there's a new devil. And if you thought you're going to get away from it, he's going to ante up, right? And so, the Bible says, so a man thinketh, so is he. So you have to decide in your life, like, which heart do you want? Do you want the heart of what's real? Do you want the heart of what you tell yourself? And so much what you tell yourself is whatever you tell yourself, it's true. If you tell yourself you can't, it's true. If you tell yourself you won't, it's true. If you say you can, it's true. So it's kind of the bio. Working on some things. Obviously, I have Godson that lives with me in my house, a group home. Not sure if we're going to do more or not, but that's kind of the next goal. Do I just do outpatient? Do I spend some time with him? Do I help in the community more? A lot of different directions it can go. Kind of versatile. Worked with ABA kids, worked with adults, worked with families, worked home-based. I'm probably one of the few chameleons, I would say, that can get it all done, I think. And that's just not me. That's God. I've always said, people are like, you're so good at it. I'm like, you think I wanted this? People that know me know that I wanted to be a pilot. Like, that's the funny part. You guys are like, it's so easy. I'm like, you guys think I actually wanted this. I didn't actually want this, right? I wanted to be flying, and, obviously I'm not making jokes, but condolences to those, obviously in DC, terrible situation. You know, I've been praying for them and their families for since we saw it. So
Yeah.
just want to give those kudos to their family, and I hope, you know, everybody in their families is, you know, and that God can help you guys soothe and heal. But I want to be a pilot, and you know, we say God gets what He wants, not what we want. So I'm here. So I hope that kind of gives some context to.
No,
you know,
it's
why
very
you're-
helpful. I would say you thrive in a fast-paced environment. Ever since the day I met you, I feel
Yes.
like you move a million miles an hour.
Yeah.
And you're so talented in so many different areas.
Yeah.
And I talk to people about that all the time, where when you have so many talents, which one do you pursue, right? But for you, you just pursue them all.
True. Definitely
Right?
true.
Why not?
It's so interesting you say that, because being an Islander in the culture, most people know this, like, you work, it's what you do, right? And so this is a new territory for me now, being 40 years old, I'll be 41 this year, being at a place where career-wise I'm going to the upper echelon across the board, right, of kind of all of them,
Yeah.
right? An ACN Heating Regional Director, right, and understanding the insurance game to be able to write it, understanding this, now coaching. It's now I might have time and the other part. Before, I didn't have either.
Yeah.
Right?
It's going to be an interesting time.
It's going to
for
be
you.
interesting
Yeah.
because I've only ever done the one pace, right? Because when I was younger, you know, my dad always says, you know, don't ever wake up and ask God later on, what did I have for you? And it just kind of made me understand, like, you have to work for everything, but it turned into all the time.
Yeah.
Because what if He wants me to do it all? What if, right? So, but I think now it's turns of now that, you know, my godson is with me, that it has turned into Him knowing when it's time.
Yeah.
And now that, like, it was like, you know, my godson came in March of last year, you know, now he's here, degree finishes.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
the timing is, I needed you to go get this degree so that you could be able to have the finances to take care of him and do things that you needed to do, right? Before it wasn't time. I needed you to do some other things first. So just trying to be obedient to the process and obedient to the understanding that we're not in charge. So that for me, I think, is why the pace. So
Okay.
I understand how to teach people to relax, and I understand what it looks like, but it's going to be different because now I don't need to.
Yeah.
Before I needed
Yeah.
to. Family, kid, I had things, goals and things that I needed to hit. Now that I've hit them, and not that I won't have more, but now they're different. Right? Now it's using intellect, not manpower.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I appreciate you sharing that. So, when I asked you about what key insight you wanted to share on the episode, you had said it doesn't matter how long it takes, do it anyway. Tell me about that. How does that drive your decision making or your growth as a leader?
So there's a book in, first off, I want everybody to read The Boy That Was Raised a Dog.
Okay.
Like,
I haven't read that.
yeah,
We'll have to add it to my book list.
You have to add it. It's about kid trauma. It's my understanding, I haven't read it in a while. It's the same psychologist who worked with the victims of Columbine.
Oh, okay.
And don't quote me on that, I believe, and it's crazy because he talks about just how those people operated. And what I always remembered myself to get to is, the majority of the time, the thing that you think is going to happen doesn't happen that way.
Yeah.
Right? So you worry, you get upset, you get anxious, you say, I can't, you get all these negative self-doubt, these negative comments, and then it's way better than you thought. Or it's not as bad as you thought it was going to be. So what I realized is the person who can do it without being emotional to it always wins.
Yeah.
Either way, you have to be all good. If they give you $1 million, all good. If God takes away 500,000, all good. Because when you give things too much power, it runs you.
Yeah.
Right? It runs you. And most people who have built anything, such as yourself, you know, amazing as Ms. Collins is you have to get to a place where you are saying to myself, what is commitment, right? If I'm committed to something, I have to be committed to it, which is doing the thing you said you would do long after the feeling of doing it has left you.
Yes.
So that's the reason why I tell people do it anyway. Because if you thought growth, if you thought work, if you thought financial stability, if you thought residual income came from just the thought, no, it comes from resiliency too, right? The Bible says faith without works is dead. So I tell people, you can't just work at it and you can't just faith at it. You got to do both. That comes from being upset about it and doing it anyway.
Yeah.
Right? I don't feel good about it, but
still need to do
I still need to do it.
Commitment.
Right? And then eventually it gets easier, right? In therapy, we call it chaining, right? You just put one foot in front of the other, right? When you have kids that can't brush their teeth, what do? You start with the toothbrush.
Yeah.
And the next day you start with the toothbrush and the toothpaste. And the third day is toothbrush, toothpaste, water, right?
Just keep building upon it.
Don't bite off the whole cookie. Just take some chunks.
Yeah. No, I like that. So, I connected in the title of the episode back to a marathon because it really is about endurance, not speed. Though you are pretty fast. But
Touche.
But I'm curious about how you do keep pushing forward without exhaustion along the way, because it's exhausting to juggle all the things that you juggle. I have no doubt,
for sure.
Right? What do you do to prevent that exhaustion and to truly take care of yourself as well?
As I got older, I began to understand there is emergencies and then there's urgencies. Right?
Yeah.
There's emergencies and then there's urgencies. Urgencies don't always make my list.
Yeah.
Emergencies do. What do I have to do today?
Yeah.
Also getting around people who will push you, not agree with you.
Okay.
Because those who will agree with you will be able to keep you grounded. Those who just agree with you, oh man, you're doing great. Do more of that.
Yeah.
The one who doesn't disagree with you, they want your progress, not money, not the other things. So I just got people around me that didn't agree with me, but loved me, right? One of my best success. And so I've just realized that when I dealt with emergencies, what do I have to do today? Because there's some days you're not going to want to do life in that way. What do I have to do? What has to happen today? Okay, these 5 things. Then I'm going to do that. Do whatever you feel like you have to do. And then be okay with what you don't do.
Yeah.
The guilt is usually what gets people. It's not the doing of the things that you must do. It's the doing of the things that the not doing the things that you wanted to do.
Yeah.
Right?
I feel like I should be taking notes right now because I need to hear this. No, it's terrible because I understand the idea and it's easy to say it to someone else. But, I'm mad at myself because I haven't done the dishes in 2 days. And it is like, it's not an emergency, right? But to me, it is. And so it's in the back of my head all the time. Well, it's never going to be as important as all of these other things. But at some point, I just have to stop and do it. Yeah. And so, that's a stupid example, but you know what I mean.
But it is, because it's how we do one thing is how we do everything.
Yes.
Right? We're creatures of habit, right?
Yeah.
In therapy, right? It's like Erickson's social stages, right? When you're mistrust all the way down to, what they would call integrity versus despair, right? Which you're 65, that I live a life that I wanted to live. But the real crazy part about it is that so much of what we think is not about God or anybody else, it's about us. And so I realized it wasn't that I needed to do things, it's about my ego. And when I put my ego aside and realized that I didn't have to be all things to all people, because at the end of the night, when they laid their head down at night, they weren't worried about whether I responded to the email. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Now, it's different if you take a week, 2 weeks, and stuff like that. People are, most often than not, more understanding than you think. Yeah. Right? So when I realized that really I was chasing an imaginary thing that nobody really created but myself, that I began to realize that what this really was. Yeah. Right? Because when you, it's good to always think that the stimuli is what causes it, right? Like, it's really good to think that, man, that's what causes that for me. Not at all. It's often sometimes ourselves. What are we chasing? So I would ask your audience, I would ask you, I would ask anybody, take a look at it and see, did anybody actually tell you to do that? Right? Like, who told you that this just had to be done? Yeah. I ask my clients this all the time. Yeah. They're like, I'm not this. I said, who told you that? Well, me. Oh.
Yeah, because people will judge me if they walk into the house and there's a dish in the sink.
Right, but nobody said anything. Right? Like, no.
But in their head, I know they're judging me.
Right? It's this.
But then I'm judging myself.
Right. It's this projection that we give, that the idea that somehow or another that it's them, when really we've created this standard for ourselves that not even ghosts could catch. Yeah. Right? It's not attainable, because every time we hit it, the goalpost changes. And now no longer you kick to the goalpost because you changed it yourself. And you're like... And it's just, so I just urge people to say, is it really what you have to do? Or is it your ego saying, if I don't do it, I don't feel like I belong in this profession. I belong where I am. I don't belong as a professional. And none of that's true. Yeah. You could do less and get more. Yeah. I've done more and got less. right?
Yeah, that happens too.
Yeah, like it doesn't always working doesn't
equate.
always equate. So, when I was in ACN and still am, is one of the great things that I took from them was MMA,
Okay.
which is money making activities. And what they always said is you have to be intentional about what those are. They usually take too long as you do. Right? You're checking the phone, you're taking the call, you're responding to the email. But if you could spend 3 good hours on the money making activities, you probably wouldn't spend 6. Right?
Yep.
We get distracted. We have meetings, and
Yep.
meetings are for what? Are they money making activities? Are you getting closer to the goal? I'm not saying you shouldn't network, but how do you scale that money making activity?
Yeah.
Right? And so that's when I started to realize, what is an emergency? What is urgency? I did the emergency first. And if I had time, I would get to the urgencies.
Yeah.
Right? Because most often than not, the urgency is because of what you allow. Right? It's because people take the boundary that we allow. Right? Not them. We've allowed it, and they're right at the fence. Right? Well, she's answered me for like the last 10 years on Sunday.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then when you don't, it's like kids who are put at daycare. Right? They're like, where are you going? Right? You're leaving me here with these people I don't know. Like, I'm lost. I can't live for myself. I mean, come on now. Kondamai, right? Like, people are 38 years old. You can't do these things on your own. It's because we feel like we must. You don't have to.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I feel like I need a reminder of all of these things. So thank you, Bryan, for always being that voice.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
So a lot of us also sometimes get caught up in kind of milestones that we feel like we should hit in life by a certain time, right? And I know I've done it too. Like, I'll say to myself, I'm 36 years old. I thought I would be married. I thought I would have kids. Like, I thought I would be in a completely different place. And that's what society expects of me as well.
Yeah.
How do you not get caught up in that?
Ooh.
Do you get caught up in that, Bryan Lewis?
At times I do, but I also remember what it took me to get here.
Okay.
Right? It's hard till it's done. Right? It always looks hard till it's done. Right? When you go to college and they're like, you have all these classes, and then you're holding your diploma, you're like, that wasn't hard. It's just work, right? So when I was a youngster, kind of started when I was a youngster, had a really, really tough time reading and writing.
Okay.
Didn't really get to a place where I could read and write appropriately. Oh man, we're telling all the goodies today. This is
Yeah.
good. This is good.
Better open up.
Yeah, this is good. I started that when I was about 9, and kudos to mom and pop, if you ever listen to this, because they cared more about my future than my feelings.
Okay.
And in the moment, I'm so grateful for that, because my friends were outside playing. I was reading books. My friends were outside playing. I had to do paragraphs. And finally I was one of the first kids to have the ADHD and the Adderall and, the Ritalin and million tests, right? IEPs, all of those things. And I think I was either the first or second class started with the SOLs.
Oh, yeah.
Right? There was a high school, right? So I graduated 2003. It was like 99, 2000. And that was one of the first classes that was introduced to.
Yeah.
And that was the first time that I realized how much what they had helped me, because the instruction that they gave me made me understand tests, because I'm not a very good test taker. I can apply my tail off, but that's kind of something that's followed me. But what I began to realize is there's not one thing I haven't defeated. So when you get there, it just means that, and sometimes comparison analysis is the thief of joy.
Yeah.
Right?
It's so easy to get caught up in it.
It's so easy to get caught up in that, right? Test I just took, didn't make it the first time. I can guarantee you most of the people who pass that test probably don't have emails as like I do for if our agency has availability. Yeah. Has nothing to do with the test. Everything to do with your intellectual ability and how you see it. Unfortunately, the test is a measure, right, for them to be able to understand where you are. So when I understood that, I started to understand that the test is not indicative of what I know or what I do. Yeah. Right? It's just an indicative of a standard that the state has so that they can put whatever acronym next to my name that they have. So I think that I began to learn as I built, your way may be tougher, but once you get it, the gift that he gives you is incredible. Right? College wasn't easy. Yeah. Right? None of them were easy for me. They were all hard. But coming off of it, what he blessed me with was so incredible, and now I don't forget it. Like, that's the difference. Some people forget it. I don't. I could not do therapy for 2 years and walk in the building, and I'm fine. So, in knowing that, it's what are you willing to do to get it? And if you understand that when much is given, much is required, you can be at a space where you're not angry, you're prepared.
Okay.
To follow the journey, because I have learned more in the journey than I have taking it. Right? The journey of it, the hardships, the tough quizzes, the tough papers, the internship hours, right? All of that built me to where I am. It built me to be able to be on a coach and other coaches are screaming, yelling, and I got a job and I have my kid and I have to go to football practice, keeping it together. Because I had a kid, I had to do master's degree, I had to do internship hours. Like, everything is training. It's all about whether or not you see it as that. It's all training. It's all a test.
But you're also like using that one skill set in so many different areas of your life.
Correct.
And I see that all the time too. Well, like my life, for example, when I pivoted, I was upset with myself saying I'm throwing away my master's in education. But no, I had to realize that everything that I had learned through that process, I needed in order to do what I'm doing now. Same thing, right? You're taking those skills and applying it to coaching
for sure
on the football field.
There's no question. And I think, too, what made it easier was sports was my safe haven.
Okay.
Right? As a child, part of what got me into the field that I'm in is I was them.
Okay.
You know, a lot of struggles in terms of being an adolescent and, you know, just a regular child. A lot of struggles. And so it was the thing that kept me safe. It was the thing that helped me. Yeah. So when they're talking to me, I understand what their gripe is.
Yeah.
Right? And I understand when it's about me and they're upset, really, or when it's about what they have been used to responding to.
Okay.
And to your point, yes, that's what I'm saying is that, like, I know why I'm here. And with the being here, do I like everything he gives me? God, no. Not at all. But I also know anytime that I've tried to get away from it, he's crushed it.
Yeah.
So to all you guys out
You're
there,
drawn right
you can
back
try. All the people out there, you can try. He'll bring you right back full circle.
Yeah.
And it's been used. It's been used in insurance. I've been excited. You know, people have made thousands of dollars in my business in ECN to be successful. Right? They've been successful. And you hear about all the other things. You can't do those things that. I don't pay much attention to any of that. I know what I am and who I am and all those things. So helping has always been my gauge. And he says, I didn't ask you just to do that. I need you to do this again too. Right? So
yeah.
And once I've done them both, now like he's got me to a place where now I know how I know that was the foundation.
Okay.
Those were just building the house.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Your gift is the foundation. It will always be solid. It doesn't matter where you go, what you do. It will always follow you and be successful. If you run from it, the other things are just wants. Again, like that said, ego, it ain't about you. Right? And he will bless that once you do this. Right? So we think we're in charge of, I don't like that. No one asked if you liked it. Right? So he woke me up in the middle of the night, probably 2010. And he said, I don't need you just to finish this for you. I need you to finish this so that the world can take advantage of what I gave you.
Wow.
Right?
That was a good night.
Yeah, like it's, right? And I'm like, okay. Because some people he talks to them like normally he talks to me while I sleep. And it woke me up out of my sleep. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, like the gift is not for you. It's I need people to take advantage of the gift that I gave you.
So, given that, how do you define success in your life?
Ooh. I always say, did you leave it here in a better place than you received it?
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, easy enough.
Yeah, I mean, if people have seen it, you can make $200 million in a year and be unhappy. Right? Be isolated, be by yourself, have nobody at the top of the mountaintop. You know, I consider success for myself. When I die, it's going to have a number in the front, a dash, and another number. How big is that dash? Right?
Yeah.
When people come, is there a lot of information given in that dash, or is it just number dash number?
You always have.
Right? Like, right? Like, what does that dash look like? Right?
Yeah.
So, because for me, that's where I think it's the one time that I will say what people think about you is your business. Because if you're no longer here, their opinion of you is based off of how you impacted their life.
Yeah.
I think the success that comes, right, is what does that dash look like? Right? And it's not done yet. Mine's not done yet. Yours isn't done yet. People on here that are listening, it's not going to be done yet. So I think that they have to say it's not done till it's done.
Yeah.
And when that happens, you'll know. Right? And in Erickson's, it's called integrity versus despair, which is at that time you tell yourself, it's like the retirement stage. When you get to that retirement stage, 65 and above, and now you start judging, how did I do the previous 65? Right?
Yeah.
How do you do previous 65? And some people will start with, the homonyms in their mind, which is, or they'll say in therapy terms, did I do enough? Right? Did I do enough? Was I good at what I did? Who did I help? So I know for me specifically, if I only took from this world but didn't give back to it, then I wasn't successful.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes to leave it in a better place than we received it, somebody's got to teach. You don't know what you don't know. Kids can't learn math. They don't have teachers. Somebody wants to be a teacher. That's their gift, right?
Yeah.
People need therapy. They come to our office, right? So I think it's more of the dash. If I know that I have created some excitement for life, some excitement to push more, some excitement that they can defeat things, a great moral compass, and in that dash they're able to describe that about me, I'm good.
So that's what they see, right? But behind the scenes, there's a lot going on in your head.
Yeah.
And I can't help but think, so you're a mental health professional, right?
Yeah.
Let's think about mental health of a leader and what's going on behind the scenes for people that we don't normally see.
Meaning, so are you asking in terms of therapist, or are you talking about the reverse in terms of us telling us what it normally looks like for people who are just leaders in general?
Either one is fine.
Okay.
We can talk about both.
I think therapists have to be very, very careful about burnout.
Okay.
Right? Because countertransference and transference is a very big thing. And any human that says they don't get triggered is a liar.
Yeah.
You have to be very conscious of that and figure out how do you do that? Probably through the relationships you have around you. Right? People around you who start saying, hey, what's going on? What does this look like? Right? Why? Like, what's happening? And part of it is again, too much access. Right? There's too much access. People that have access to you do not have a boundary of taking. They will take till you stop.
Yeah.
And real givers don't have a boundary of giving either. Right?
Yeah.
So it has to be this is just it. Right? And so what I always say to people is, if I looked at you and said, that's what I tell some of my clients, especially like just in general, is if you looked at yourself and you said, I'm going to crockpot this thing, and God's going to give me $15 million over 10 years.
Okay.
Right? Or he's going to give me $15 million over 5 years, but you don't know if you keep it. You see the moral compass people make?
Yeah.
Right? That's the moral compass of, I feel like I have to answer because I feel like I need all of it right now. I feel like if you give me the $15 million, I would boot to 30. That's not what I said.
Yeah.
I didn't say you couldn't build it. What I said is he will decide whether or not he takes it. Everybody wants microwave.
Yeah.
Have to have crock pot for me.
I like that analogy.
Like you have to have the crock pot because the only way to have the crock pot is to take their time and your time. So people are like, I'll take more patients. I'll take more patients. You see it at doctor's offices all the time. Right? Where they're like in and out. The nurse comes in, the doctor comes in. What do they spend? 15 minutes? If that, they're out. They're seeing 3-4 clients an hour.
Yeah.
Right? At a time. They are.
Unless you go to Kelly Bada from Smarty Pants Medicine.
Get your shout out. So I think it's telling people the foundation is necessary. And most leaders are not good at that. And it's something that you have to have. You have to have an accountability person. Because if you don't have an accountability person, you can't see you. They can see you, but you can't see you. And they're like, but I'm the mirror. No.
Lots of blind spots.
There's lots of blind spots. So you have to be willing, again, to have people that disagree with you.
Okay, so I have a confession. This is absolutely ridiculous, but I'm going to say it. AI. I saw someone in our network yesterday post that you should ask AI based on its work with you, what it thinks of you, and see what it comes up with. So I did that yesterday and got like its feedback, and I was like, oh. And then Matt said, well, you should ask it what you could do to improve. And so I did.
Yeah.
And it was insane. Like, I'm not going to say that they're blind spots because other people have already pointed them out to me.
Yeah.
But had people not pointed them out to me or AI pointed it out to me, I would have never known the things that I really need to change for myself.
Yeah.
So, no, even AI will give you the feedback of your blind spots. Yeah. Just saying. It's an option.
Well, and I think what AI gave you out of that is, shout out to TD Jakes, guy I listen to all the time. Potter House, Dallas, Texas.
Book out there.
Yeah, Dallas, Texas. He said something one time, and it struck me in terms of not just how blessed he is and how God talks to him, but just in general of what he said. And he says, it's not what they say, it's what you think about yourself, which means they're not the enemy. You have an inner me.
Say that again.
He says, it's not what they say about you. That's the problem. They're not the enemy. You have an inner me.
I like that.
And it was so like, it made me think, we're not puppets. We do some of this on our own. We overthink it. We do these things. So I think it's more of, that's where you have to understand mental health, is the inner me can't see that. I need somebody to see what I'm projecting. Right? And then to be like, what do you mean? That's why I say all the time, people that work a lot, I always ask them, how are your relationships? That's the first time I ask.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, they're great, are they?
Yeah. Well, if they say that they're great, they're probably lying. No, know that right away.
I know that because in order to get something has to be sacrificed.
Yeah. Something. Yeah, what are they choosing to give up?
What do you choose? Something's getting given up.
Yeah. Mine's the dishes, by the way.
Yours is just the dishes. She's lying, folks. There's more to it than the dishes. I promise you. There's more to it. There's a whole lot more than the dishes, and she's not telling you the truth.
I am very transparent on here.
Listen, y'all can call me up. I'll tell you.
Okay, you know what? We'll go there.
Yeah.
Bryan, tell me my blind spots.
And it's actually a good blind spot, but it's something that I think she realizes is she is so good at what she does that in her mind she can help everybody. And sometimes people don't want what you got going on. You got Burger King, they want McDonald's.
Yeah.
And that has nothing to do with your ability to be great. It has nothing to do with your ability to be awesome. They just don't want what you got going on.
Well, not everybody is like super motivated to grow.
No.
And that's kind of my obsession. So
because
I can turn off people very quickly.
If they work, it can happen.
Yeah.
Right? And you know that in your mind. And they don't. And I think that watching you grow has been an outstanding thing. Just what you've built here, what you've built as a human being and who you are. And I know at the beginning, just when we met as friends and as business people, is you see so much good in people that they don't even see in themselves. And so because of that, you go the extra mile. You take the extra phone call because you're like, man, maybe this seed will flower today.
Yes, I literally think that.
Yeah, maybe it'll be today, right? And then, right, it's what if it doesn't?
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with it. It just wasn't a seed that was ready yet.
I think that then I feel like I carry guilt for like, what if I was the thing that they needed that would have like gotten them past that obstacle, and then I didn't give them the attention. Like I've let them down. I've let him down.
Guys, this is so good that we're talking about right now, because this is one of the tough things is I tell people all the time, you cannot give people so much of yourself that when it's time for your family, they have nothing. And what happens is that we spend so much time at what we think is our gift and so much time at what we have goal-wise and so much time at what we aspire to be that those around us can't enjoy it with us.
Man, I've been called out.
Look, that was really that was really for me, right? Because, I can speak freely, in terms of from own personal experience. We talked about Sierra, now we'll talk about myself.
Yeah.
I had that issue. Which was I missed multiple Christmases building a business. And people ask me all the time, would you do it again? No.
Yeah.
No, because I got it done anyway. A couple more of those times wouldn't have changed that.
Yeah,
right?
That's true.
And I was too busy trying to get this test done and work that I was in New Jersey one time. And I came home. Really, I could have done it there, and on the drive back, grandmother died. And so I tell people all the time, those kind of reminders are things that I needed as I continue to grow up, which is what's valuable. And so part of that is that's the self-care part you have to look at with the relationships. Because what we often forget about is we're doing so great, but we forget the people that helped us build it.
Yeah.
Right? And that building doesn't always mean in the building. It can always be when I get home, wife or husband has dinner on the table. It could be I'm so tired and I walk outside and my car started and there's a tank of gas in it. Right? Yes, you built it here, but they helped you get here. And so many times we really forget that. And I think that's something I needed to get better at. Because it wasn't that people couldn't be where at. It wasn't their journey. But they would watch my kid. They would go grocery shopping if I needed them to. Right? Like they would stop by with dinner. They would do those types of things. And I needed all of those to be able to be great at what I needed. And oftentimes leaders don't do one thing. What do you think it is?
What is it?
Ask for help.
Oh, yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
And I didn't for years.
They want to just provide the help.
Yep, they want to provide the help. And so many times asking for help is a 3. It's just 3.
Yeah.
Ask for help. 4, will you help me? Right? And oftentimes we don't do that. So I think people struggle there because that's the mental health part. I have to be all things to all people. I have to answer every email. I have to do this. Oh my God, somebody else is going to get that sale.
Yeah.
That's not somebody you want. If your entire contingency of business partnerships is off of the idea that you didn't answer an email at 10:30 at night, that's not a person I want anyway.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But
in our mind, we're like, okay, I'm going to get up in the morning. Like, people who really are down, if I send Sierra email, when she gets back to me, she gets back to me.
Yeah.
Like, because I know you're not twiddling your thumbs. Right? I know.
Well, that's why I do feel bad when it takes me ages to answer
but you can't.
But you understand that. I feel like not everybody understands that.
Because iron sharpens iron.
Well, yeah. Yes. I was going to say, the people that do get upset with me for not responding as quickly are people that, you're right, probably don't need to be in my circle as much because they don't understand.
I think they understand. I think they have an agenda on what it is they want from you. Because a person who wants something from you doesn't care about what it took you to get it. People who really care about you understand your mental health, your physical health, your family health is all important.
Yeah.
And if anybody who is really about you would never put a dime before your kid, a dime before your parents, a dime before those things. Because what they understand is the world is a crazy circle. And what you give, you will get. And unfortunately, God doesn't like ugly. And that's one of those things. And it's so passive aggressive, you don't even realize it. Right? When they're like, well, I emailed you at 7:30 last night. Not even realizing that, like, nobody has to answer at that time.
Yeah.
So the idea that you're supposed to is almost narcissistic in its way. Right? Like, I don't have to do anything. Right? But we are so bent on, and I get on some of these books that are self-help and all these things because they teach speed. It's like throwing gum at a wall and hoping it sticks. When in reality, I'm a crockpot guy. And all my relationships I've had for decades. Right? I talked to Dr. Dickens. If you watch this Dickens, she's one of the professors at Liberty University. I was talking to her yesterday. Right? I talked to the lady her name was Miss Orlick. She just retired, I think, 3 years ago. She retired at 91. Wow. She was a guidance counselor for 60 years. Right? She's part of the reason why I'm here. Right? Those relationships I've had my entire life because I wasn't always what you see now. Right? You know, I tell people, like, you're so personally developed. I'm like, oh.
It's been a lot of work.
It's been a lot of work. Yeah. So I think you have to realize what the agenda is. Okay. And doing that. All those things go into that mental health, right? And checking those boundaries. And people that have input. Think about it like a road. Right? Why are there rails on the road?
To keep you in.
To keep you in.
Yeah.
How many rails do you have in your life?
Well, you know what? I actually have a question for you.
Sure.
What are some of your boundaries?
What are some of my boundaries?
Yes, that you use to protect your mental health.
One of them is the minute I realize what I have going on you don't like. It's an immediate understanding.
Yeah.
When I'm talking about the cell phone and the energy business and you're like, well, I don't think that's a good idea, I instantly know. I instantly know. We could be good, we can be, but we're not rocking the way that We probably need to, because it lets me know that your vision is that whatever I'm doing is less important than yours. Mm-hmm. Which means that you believe in your mind, your thing is the only thing that works.
Gotcha.
Right?
Okay.
That type of energy is nowhere around me. Mm-hmm. You have to find something that you're in love with as well that's not your job.
Okay.
Coaching is that for me.
I can see that.
Right? So for me, I enjoy that. Right? I enjoy that last year they won 7 rings out of 10 in the last 2 years.
I was going to say, I literally have seen the rings on social media, and I kind of didn't know that there were rings for like youth football. I'm not going to lie, but they're really cool.
Thank you. I appreciate it. But like that, you have to have something. Yeah. Right? Because I really do have the saying that the mountaintop doesn't have a lot of room. But whoever it is needs to be there with you.
Yeah.
And we often can try to drag people those things. So, finding something you like outside of your job, make sure you have the rails and understanding the boundaries that somebody who's like that, like what you got going on, boom. Mm-hmm. And then also understanding that you have to meet people where they are. Because doing that for yourself is so helpful. Because we think that we're the fixers and that we can just change people and do all these things. We can't do any of that. Mm-hmm. Right? There's no part of that for me that is successful. You have to get to a place where you understand, okay, can't make them be what they want to. It's time. Mm-hmm. And when you understand seasons of people, you understand it. Mm-hmm. And stop letting people get you off your square. Right? No is a complete answer.
Yeah.
That's what I tell people. Mm-hmm. Like, they're going to be upset, and no is a complete sentence. I don't owe you an explanation for anything. But we think we owe people so much because we've attached ourselves to, man, if I don't do this, are we going to get referrals? Right? If your business is successful because of who you are and how well you can do something, it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. Right? I tell people all the time, you can't take away what's blessed.
Yeah.
You can't. You can try. You can do your best to take away whatever you want. You can get mad at Chick-fil-A all you want. That is a well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
Right? And people have tried. They have put Chipotle's next to it. They have tried. And they're not even open on Sundays. Mm-hmm. Right? And they're still winning. Mm-hmm. That place is packed and you would never know it. They are so efficient, right? Are they more expensive than other places? Absolutely. And they don't care. Mm-hmm. Because they know what they offer.
Yeah, and you go there for that experience.
Mm-hmm. Right? Everything is my pleasure.
Yeah.
Right? So if you have that type of ambiance about your business, what does it matter if you don't answer somebody?
That's a very good point.
Right? Like, so those are the things that I do for my mental health.
Okay.
Working out's good. I really do feel like that. And then I also feel like this is a good one that I use all the time. If you've had a stressful day, you need to go somewhere and sit for 10 minutes. Okay. No phone, no nothing.
So you just said if you had a stressful day. So that's every day. You need to go and sit somewhere for 10 minutes.
For me, I do it. For me, I do that.
Okay.
Right? So obviously, my group home, I don't have my dog in the house.
Okay.
When off my dog, my whole goal was I would put my 2 cell phones on my kitchen table, and I would sit Indian style in my kitchen, and I would just pet the dog.
Oh.
Nothing else gets answered.
Yeah.
Nothing.
10 minutes.
Yep.
Okay.
10. Some people need more. Some people need less. 10 was good for me.
I'll have to try that.
And just reflect. Mm-hmm. Right? And just, right? Because we call it grounding. Grounding means that you have like this list, and you'll do like 3 things that you smell and 2 things that you hear. And it gets away negative thoughts from whatever it is you're currently thinking about. Ground yourself. Because so many times we bring negative energy home, and then we really wonder why our house feels the same as our job.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. Don't bring that home.
Just carry it over.
That's the mental health part that is really, really critical.
Well, that's also a problem for people who work from home.
Right.
Because there is no separation of the two.
Then my answer to them would be finding that thing, right, that you love that's not in the home.
Yeah.
2, you have to do an outside activity.
Yeah. Get out.
Get out, right? Because we have not socialized anymore. We have learned to socialize through barriers. Mm-hmm. Phone, email, FaceTime, Zoom, Skype. I mean, I could go on about all the different ways, right?
Yeah.
Google Meet. I mean, God, so we stopped trying to sit in front of people and have a conversation. We stopped doing that. We stopped getting to our places where it's, how do I know, when people come in our office, they're like, well, how do I date? I don't know. Go to Barnes & Noble. They're like, well, maybe the dating app, or maybe like if I just go out with these friends. You will find that person in the strangest place.
Yeah.
Just because you showed up. Just because you showed up. and you were genuine. It wasn't, the date's all fancy and, he's got the car all clean and, he's got all this stuff on and he's looking great, right? And he's smelling awesome, right? And then he goes home, right? And it's like, is that really you? When you're at the gym, it's just you.
That's you.
Right? So ladies out there, you know how you get the guy? Make him do a coffee date. You do a coffee date, he's probably going to come in sweatpants and sweatshirt. You're going to be good.
It's good advice.
Yeah.
I like it. No, I think you obviously you've learned to put in place a lot of boundaries. I respect that. And I know that I can always grow in that area. It is one of my areas of my 3 that ChatGPT also informed me of. Thank you.
ChatGPT is wrecking live.
But no, it's good to know. So how do you decide what to put your time and energy into?
I'm going to say something and it's probably, the answer is going to be strange.
Okay.
But you'll understand it when I unpack it.
All right.
What I always say is, I don't feel like I've worked a day in my life.
Okay.
That's how you know.
Oh, okay. Because you're spending time like doing things that you love and having the impact that you want.
Yeah, I don't feel like I've worked a day in my life. So most people feel the way that you feel because they're in something that they don't like. And when it's your true gift and you believe in him, right? And again, this is not saying anybody here has to, but I've often found that when you believe in something that you like, it often doesn't feel like work.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
When you have basketball coaches, they don't see it as work. Right? When I'm a football coach, I don't see it as that either. I see it as I'm really enjoying this thing.
Well, that's why, I get up 4:30 in the morning. My mind isn't going to work because I feel like somebody's waiting on me to do something. It's because I truly can't wait to get on there and get started and start having an impact, right?
Yeah.
So that's my struggle is it leads to a lack of boundaries because of my level of excitement.
So what I tell people all the time is, to answer your question, you're saying, how am I not good at this? I feel like I'm giving therapy today, by the way.
Yeah, well, I feel like you do every time we're together. I'll pay you afterwards.
It's all good. What I would say to you is you have to look at it from a perspective of, if you do not set boundaries, how do they get the gift?
I feel like I'm gonna have to go back and listen to this episode and write down the questions that you ask and then reflect and get back to you.
But that's what, what I tell people is that, if you take too much money out of your ATM, there's not going to be nothing left. And people will often do that because, like we talked about, takers don't have a boundary. So if they continue to take, how does your family get anything? How does the kid who now has a baseball practice and just hit a home run and you're on the phone? Right? And you're like, oh, I missed it. I couldn't tape that because you were worried about $1,000 sale.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And you go home and you have all these things and you're like, man. So to me, I felt like I didn't, because what I realized was it didn't matter where else they went. God gave it to me. Right? That at the end of the day, if you don't want what I got going on, that's perfectly fine. But there has been, I can say in my 20 years, maybe 5 people on my hands who didn't want to work with me. So for me, it was understanding, if you build it, people will come.
Right people will.
Yep. If you build it, people will come. And you have to realize that for me, it was, I don't think I worked a day in my life. So that boundary, I believe, is based off of, if you love what you do, figure out a way that you can understand that and you're not going to make everybody happy. I don't want people to think that. You're not going to be able to get all 5 things that everybody wants from you. But if you can look at yourself and say, at the end of the day, I gave all quadrants of my life as much as I could, then you're successful. Because one day you might have more, right? It's like a relationship. People are like, it has to be 50-50. No, sometimes it's 80-20.
Yeah, depends on where you are.
Right, it is. And part of that is what, like I said before, is who's in your corner. Right? Don't forget who helped you build it, because you may be able to go to your spouse and when you get home and say, I only got 25. That's all I got. I understand this is not, but I only have 25. So you might want to get me to do whatever it is you need me to do right now, because in an hour
nothing left.
I got nothing left, right? So just being honest with yourself about those things.
Yeah. No, that's really helpful. And I didn't get to comment on it earlier about the people that support you and being there for them too. This is new thing for me this week that I'm trying really, really hard to make a list of all the people that I want to write thank you notes to. And yesterday I knocked out 13 of them. But like sit down daily and write a handwritten thank you note to the people that are supporting me.
That's good.
So that's my current effort because I know that I've done a really bad job of keeping up with it, truthfully. So,
I think people always ask me what is the worst emotion. I think guilt.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's the worst. I can
agree with that.
I think it's the worst thing a person can have, right? Yeah. Because it falsifies who we have to be. Mm-hmm. Right. And that's why I said if you're doing it in all quadrants, maybe you can't do 13. You do 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I just need to do 1 a day. One a day is fine.
Do whatever you can do. Right. Mm-hmm. Some days you might do 5.
Yeah.
Some days you may do 1. Mm-hmm. But do what you can do.
Yeah.
Right.
Just keep it a priority.
Yeah, just keep it a priority, right? I'm not saying you can't work in your business. You got to work hard, of course. But I'm saying maybe you can't spend 2 hours at home with your kid. Maybe you spend 30.
Yeah.
And part of it is, oh man, shout out to Aaron Burt, one of my SVPs. He said, if people don't have issues with what you're building, they have issues with what you're building and they don't see the results when you come home.
Wow.
That's usually the conflict.
Yeah.
Is you spent all this time doing said such and such, and we've been at this for 5 years. What do we got? Mm-hmm. That's the part about I'm talking about being intentional. Because if you're intentional and you build the thing that you're supposed to build, you do have 30 minutes when you get home. Mm-hmm. But eventually, after 7 years, it should turn into 2.
Yeah.
Because you've built something stable enough, right? So I say, don't allow the time that you're not spending with your kids to be for naught.
Yeah.
Or your family members. Work hard. Hey, I got 25%.
Yeah. Give
them something to be excited about later. Mm-hmm. Not we didn't see our dad, he was out with other people, and we haven't had anything. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying money is everything, but freedom is.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, money is needed in this world. And so you have to have some, not everything, but some. And sometimes if you can build something where you can have both, that's the ultimate idea. So I think you have to really be passive in that way about who do you take care of, because you have to realize really what they built, because I've seen people do it all the time and it's such a tragedy. They get in a business, they be successful, and they take the advice of those that are helping them make money and not the ones who help build them. And the ones who help build them feel the type of way and they leave, and then the ones who are only worried about money leave them and now they have nothing.
Yeah.
Don't play that battle. There's 2 separate things. Give them the attention that they deserve and that's it. Mm-hmm. Right? Your mom loves you because she's going to do anything because she birthed you. The guy you sell insurance to is not mom. Mm-hmm. Not saying you can't be a friend. Not saying that you won't build relationships. What I'm saying is you have to understand the difference.
Yeah, there is a big difference.
And most people think because you're my highest referral source that you're better than my parents. It's a mistake.
Yeah, no.
So that's what I'm saying about taking care of those things. So.
Wow. This is such a good conversation. We're going to have to continue it more later. Okay, well, I always ask the guests to share, if you could, I do a branching out challenge. So if you could challenge our listeners to do something based on today's episode, what do you want to challenge them to do? What's one actionable thing that they could do based off of our conversation? No pressure.
I want them to do 2 things.
Oh, no. Come on, Bryan. You're supposed to be a rule follower.
I know, but it's
I'm just kidding.
But it's in the same concept.
Okay, go ahead.
Because they're not going to be able to know what it is without these 2 things.
Okay.
I want them to take what we call a relationship target. It looks like a bullseye. Mm-hmm. It looks like darts.
Okay.
You print them off online. I want you to take it. I want you to give it to every single person in your family. That's meaningful relationships like that you see on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. Each ring means it has a different value. Okay. So on the outside of the ring is like people that they don't trust at all. The bullseye is the most trusted.
Okay.
And I want you to have them answer where you are on that ring.
Ooh. I'm scared to know.
This will let you know how they feel about what you're doing. Yeah. And then I want you to write down 5 things that you think you're doing for your family. And then on the other side, write how it's true.
Man. You're tough, Bryan. Okay.
Because that's really how you get to the core of the apple, right? I tell people all the time, numbers don't lie, people do.
Mm-hmm.
That's data.
It is data.
Right? That's not up for...
I like data.
That's not qualitative research, right? It's quantitative. You're going to know, right, what it is. And 2, you can also know how to adjust.
Yeah.
Because...
it's actionable, for sure.
And people, if you get angry from it, it will never work.
Yeah.
You have to be open to receiving the information.
Well, I think the only reason you would be upset is because you're disappointed that the trust isn't there, but that's your own fault. So you could only be upset with yourself.
Correct. And so I think that'll help all of them because it'll help you figure out how to be more effective.
Yeah.
It'll help you figure out if their mental health, if your mental health is in line. It'll help you figure out if you're being cost effective in anything that you're doing. It'll get you to a place where, do I need therapy? Do I not? How do I fix this thing? Have I dealt with my trauma?
Yeah.
Right? Have I dealt, like, we could go on, but it'll that single thing tells me wonders in therapy.
I can see why.
It tells me absolute wonders. So relationship circle people, list 5 things you think you're doing for your family, then prove it. Most people can't put 5 on the other side. They'll be like, well, oh man, and I'm not talking about that you think, what you're actually doing.
Yeah.
Right? Well, I'm providing food. Okay. What's that look like? Are you actually grocery shopping with them? Are you actually putting the groceries away? Or are you doing Instacart and leaving?
Yeah.
Semantics, but...
get you down to the reality of it. Now, I love that exercise. Thank you for sharing that. I will go through it as well. Okay, so last question.
Sure.
Well, what can I do to support you? What can we do to support you? You didn't go into business, honestly, and share where we can find you, how we can support your efforts. So is there something that you'd like to share that we could do to help you?
Right now, our business is, well, I shouldn't say business. The company that I'm working for right now is Wellness 8. We're on the walk-in mall, technically, right around the corner. We're across from Clark County.
In Winchester, Virginia, by the way.
Winchester, Virginia, downtown. We used to be across from Village Square. We've moved now to a little bigger space. The way you help is just getting people to understand there's another way. And our goal is to help them. Based off of that, our entire model that we build off of is what we call Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Yeah.
Right? Where you have physiological, right? You have safety, you have belonging, you have esteem, you have self-actualization. We feel like 60 to 70% of that can make you functional.
Yeah.
Most people come in our office, they're about 25%.
Okay.
So when we look at somebody, we look at them that we're partners, right? I'm not a therapist and you're whatever. We are partners. We are trying to get that pyramid to get as great to you as you can. We're going to fill it up as much as we can of what you can do. Right now, people are struggling. People are in bad shape. They're in bad shape financially. They're in bad shape mentally. They're in bad shape. You're getting people who are paying $150,000 for a teaching degree, and they get out and there's not a job. They're working at Ruby Tuesdays, right, or whatever it might be. So I would say send us people that just want to see another way. That the bottle is not the way, right? That laying in bed is not the way. We have other ways. We can do it together. It doesn't have to be us just telling you what to do. We don't believe in that.
Yeah.
You know more about yourself than we do. So send us our way, Wellness 8. Email is blewis@wellness-8 We're on the walk-in mall. We are at 15 East Piccadilly Street. Obviously, send me an email. Let us know. If you guys have questions, please let us know. We do virtual, and we do take insurance. So both are nice. We have some people don't like coming in person. Cool. We can do it on a computer screen. Right? There's a lot of ways to help you. Correct. Consultations are free, which most people don't do. We do. So we're really excited. Really, really excited.
And it's a beautiful space.
It is.
Gosh, I loved it.
It is.
I loved it. Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Seriously, I can't thank you enough for being here.
Absolutely.
And all that you have going on, that you chose to spend time with me means a lot.
Of course.
And I hope that some folks reach out to you. And seriously, I know that if they have a question, you will answer.
For sure.
So reach out to Bryan.
For sure.
So let me just close this up. Thank you guys for listening through to the very end. I hope you found value in today's episode. Remember that if you subscribe, you'll get a notification. We release every Friday at noon Eastern Standard Time, another episode. And be sure to like and subscribe so that you get that notification. Until next time, keep branching out.